but I'm gonna soldier on and soldier on like our friend Tulsi Gabbard, who served with distinction and came up. She's from Hawaii, and she served in the Hawaii the Army National Guard with distinction. And when she uh, joined the U.S. House of Representatives, she in fact got her chops. Her job now is as DNI, the Director of National Intelligence. There is almost nothing in her background that would qualify her to hold that specific position. But it's the Trump administration, so they're not looking real hard at your CV. It's more about who Trump thinks is going to be loyal to Trump. But to give credit where credit's due, and I'm not taking away from Tulsi's accomplishments, because she's served much longer in the military than I did, and many others, right? And she was on the House, the Armed Services Subcommittee on Intelligence and Special Ops, right, in the House. So that's you get briefings and you learn things, and everybody gets a little bit. We hope everybody gets a little smarter as they get older. Sometimes when you approach 80, sometimes it goes in another direction, as we learned with the beloved Joe Biden, and we're learning much to our peril and consternation with DJT. Tulsi, you may remember, and you may not, because it's 9 years ago. Tulsi got herself in a little hot water. She took a quote unquote, I won't do the air quotes, but a quote unquote fact finding mission to Syria. And she brought her husband, which is not the conspiracy. She was there to meet with the guy that she claimed and may still claim was not all that bad, which is Bashar al-Assad, right? The murderous son of Hafez al-Assad, who was killing people before it was cool to kill people in Syria, going way back. And Bashir would torture people. He's from an ethnic minority sect called the Alawites in Syria, and they were in power, and they oppressed their opposition. They killed and tortured people. They did lots of really bad things. So naturally, one of their best buddies was Vladimir Putin, who has, I think at the high point had 3 military bases on Syrian territory, and now has one naval and 1 military base. In 2017, when your friend and mine, Tulsi, went to have her fact-finding mission, she met with Assad a couple times, met with Assad's wife. She met with various other members of his inner circle, and also met with various and sundry Lebanese officials, because she was in the neighborhood. So why not? She also, I will contend with some evidence. She also met with some other people who are a lot closer to Vladimir Putin than you and I. And of course, Russians exerted a tremendous amount of influence, provided weapons, intelligence, and other things to prop up the Assad regime for a very long time. And so it's my humble contention that she was, as Hillary Clinton. I was maybe joking just a little bit earlier in a few posts on the platform here, that we're going to get T-shirts printed up that say Hillary was right, because Hillary very famously said of Tulsi, she's a Russian asset. So, you know, is that proven in a U.S. court of law? No, but of course, uh, what does Pamela Joe Bondi say about it? Unclear at this point. With the stress on rule of law and on our DOJ, then our DNI Tulsi Gabbard, she's responsible for, you know, in addition to the CIA, sort of important, and the NSA, equally important, a little bit more secret, and does a lot more of the higher tech intelligence gathering. She also has a hand in the intelligence operations of the Pentagon and of the Department of Energy. And the Department of Energy, they're in charge of such things as like nuclear weapons, just as a thing. So let's just assume, for the sake of argument, because we're going to say hypothetically, she becomes a Russian asset in 2017. She also did a neat little pirouette where that was under the Trump administration, and Tulsi ran briefly for president, right, on the Democratic ticket. What that is called is hedging your bets, because Vladimir Putin had every intention to keep Donald J. Trump in power in the election that he lost to Joe Biden, right? So in that 2020 election, that was the continuity that Vladimir Putin was hoping for and working, essentially orchestrating, was frustrated by the temerity of the American public to elect somebody other than Donald J. Trump, right? Because this is a collaborative effort. But I thought a neat little trick was to have a sympathetic party as a member of the sleeping with the enemy, so to speak, in the Democratic Party before she eventually joined the Republican Party in full in 2024. So it was, you could call it a mole, if they're cute little animals, and they dig and screw up your backyard if you have too many of them up here in the northern country. So little, they're cuter than, we won't call them mice. They may be of the same family. I don't really know. They could be marsupials, and I wouldn't have any idea. But they're really cute. They're really tiny. But a mole, as you know, in intelligence parlance, is a kind of a sleeper spy, somebody that is burrows into your organization and stays almost dormant for a period of time until they're activated. That's one way to consider it, right? And I was reading a little bit, just because it's so delightful, about the what is it, the Cambridge Five, the original the original sin of espionage in the British Secret Service after the during and after the Second World War, with Kim Philby at the top and his four associates, who oh, Burgess, McLean, Blunt, and the other one I'll never. He has a difficult name that I never remember when I try to, so I have to look it up, and I'm not going to do that now. But it put, as I've confessed here on this platform, I am a slave to a good Russian spy novel, Russian, British, Secret Service, CIA, whatever it is. That's my jam, as the kids used to say, and don't say anymore, with good reason, because it sounds silly. Yeah. So here is Tulsi, your homegirl, and she's the DNI, which means she has her finger on the pulse of all of the most sensitive intelligence in the United States, without limitation. There, there's no, there is no intelligence gathering operation in the United States that Tulsi can look in on at any time she wants to. Now, is that a useful tool to someone, to Donald Trump, to have somebody in a position like that when he himself is a compromised individual? Yes. But who is it most helpful to? It's Vladimir Putin. Huh? So that was his hedge bet, 17, run as a D in 20. And you've been reformed and redeemed by 24, and you just go on as you're not a mole. You in fact are running the largest, besides the Chinese, the most sophisticated, perhaps, intelligence gathering. It's a consortium, because remember, after 9/11, the concern was that we weren't there was too much uh, siloing of intelligence material and research and data and all those things. And so after 9/11, one of the reforms was to create a DNI, somebody to be the godfather over all of the intelligence agencies. And that is what Tulsi, who, again, did sit on that subcommittee on intelligence and special ops for a period of time in the lower house of Congress, and did serve for an extended period of time in the Hawaii National Guard, and then was she reached the I think her her rank when she retired. If she's she's probably still um, guard. She probably hasn't, because you get benefits from that. Um, but I think she reached lieutenant colonel. So I'm not, no shade at her, just as there was no shade thrown at Kim Philby, but for a long time. He was operating and giving away the secret, even after two of his homeboys defected and spent the rest of their lives living in Moscow. Philby was still doing his thing. There was suspicion, but there wasn't enough to ever convict him. He continued to relay intelligence information to Russia for a very long time. For the Second World War was over in 45, and he was still doing that 20 years later. So if you plant your seed carefully, and no, we're not doing any no tawdry sexual connotations on that one. But what I'm suggesting is that the most patient, the most experienced intelligence information, the most experienced intelligence professional in the United States is Vladimir Putin. So that's kind of a sleep well tonight, which is great, because all of the deficiencies, all of the people that aren't up to the job in the Trump administration, Pete Hegseth, we're cutting Mario Rubio. Mario, it's a friend of mine. Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio. We're cutting him some slack because he was a senator. He was on more committees than you can shake a stick at, and he's not a dummy. He got he drank the Kool-Aid, took the red pill, and is just he's biding his time to hope to get a bite at that the apple after Trump leaves. But of course, there's JD Vance waiting in the wings, and then there is Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, please don't do that, and any number of other people that we're not even talking about now that are desirous. There's still DeSantis. You know, he still wants to play. He's doing his Florida thing and burning books and trying to prove his creds to the crazy right MAGA people that he is just nuts enough to get it done. And then there's there's Tucker Carlson, the maybe I should be a Nazi now, Tucker, right? And then he's going to have to out Nazi JD. I have to check. We spoke, I think yesterday or the day before, and many times prior to that, about JD Vance's speech on Valentine's Day last year in Munich, the Munich Security Conference going on right now, right now. It's the same. Valentine's Day is in 2 days. So will JD Vance outdo himself and stand up once again and say, Nazis, your free speech rights are under pressure, and I am here as your champion. I will fight for you, dear Nazi friends of mine, because we've got Nazis at home, but I'm here in the Genesis project of Nazis. I'm here in Germany. I have German friends, love Germany. It's the best next to the US. It's a fantastic country with great people that are hardworking, industrious, brilliant, value education, all sorts of things. And they've got real problems. Do they have problems like 1930s Germany Nazi problems? Not yet. But just, give them a little, AFD, the alternative for Germany, the ultra right wing, we'll call it, instead of Nazis, just for variety, they're as tough as nails. And Vladimir Putin is funding them too. When he's not busy funding the ultra right party, the rally in France. When he's not busy, but he had a loss in Portugal last week. He was trying. He can't win them all. But do you think, does he have a grievance about that? No, that's Donald Trump. What does Putin do? Maybe has a shot of vodka. I don't know if he drinks. He should. He's under a lot of strain. He turns the page and moves on like an adult, like a trained killer and seasoned KGB. He wasn't a KGB agent. He wasn't only a KGB agent. He actually was the head of the FSB, the intelligence operation before Yeltsin put him in that position, and then he took over as prime minister, and then president, and then prime minister and president, and then the Putin roulette, Russian roulette. Yeah. So and you've heard in the news in the last few days, there are some whistleblower reports that are causing some concern because people within her agency are telling tales out of school, which of course they're doing at the DoD, Department of Defense too, because they have leaders that aren't qualified to be in the job. So the only way that people in the department can get that information out is with the whistleblowers that used to be protected. But now, looking at Pamela Jo Bondi spying on congressmen and senators so she could bring Oppo material into the hearings and try to embarrass them and obfuscate everything that they're doing wrong. The fact that they revealed the names of all of the Epstein victims while protecting all of the worst men that helped Donald Trump do what the things that he did. And that's, I was listening to Jamie Raskin tonight. I think it was recorded yesterday. It was, it wasn't an intelligence briefing, but Jamie Raskin is a very thoughtful man and a law professor and smart. And he was the one that your homegirl Pamela Joe Bondi was saying, "You're not even a real lawyer," like she should talk. Um, but the whistleblowers. So somebody has a complaint about ineffective leadership. It could be something more profound, and we'll find out eventually, because these things don't stay silent for too long. But with the inspector generals and all of these agencies having been kneecapped by the Trump administration, we don't know what it is, but it'll probably be pretty fantastic. I mean, a whistleblower complaint, it isn't like breaking news. Pamela Joe Bondi, her roots are showing, or something like that. It's not a small issue. It's probably more consequential. But let's keep an eye on it, because what Putin enjoys with that is he has another. We were talking about scenario planning or contingency planning, or there are versions of that have branches, roots, and all sorts of really clever multi-syllable words that we talk about if you're one of those highly paid consultant people at McKinsey or uh, PwC, EY, and all of those other places, which is great to learn when you're young. Strategic thinking, but the ultimate strategic thinker in our world, as I said, and I'll repeat, the most important and highly skilled intelligence professional in the United States is Vladimir Putin. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Look back over the timeline and close your eyes and think about the what we're doing in how we're helping the Ukrainians, how we're going to impose stiffer financial penalties on the Russians, more sanctions. We say we're going to penalize Putin for selling oil to India. We really effed it up with India, but that's a different story. And then, back to like every week, it's the hierarchy. And we talked about, are we evolving until we fix things later, because it ain't sustainable. That tripolar, right? Three pillar or tripolar or tripartite, however you want to call it, the China, Russia, US thing. How neat and tidy is it that Putin gets 2 out of 3 just by being smart? And like I said, there is nothing that Xi Jinping fears about either Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin. He just wants to be he wants China to be the greatest country again, you know, because before we were even a colony, before we had conquered the stolen land that would later become the United States of America, the dynasties were doing this over and over again, going back thousands of years, before we were even, Thomas Jefferson was wearing a wig and powdering his hair, all the stuff that they used to do back when we thought the world began. But it began for a lot of other peoples and a lot of other countries long before Greece and Rome, but in civilizations in Africa, where we all come from in any case, as our dear friend, Archbishop Desmond Tutu reminds us, we're all Africans. And I wish he could have been, I wish Desmond Tutu had been here to watch Bad Bunny. Oh no, it's Bad Bunny Day again. Did I? Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, I got it. It's Thursday. Still Thursday, at least here in northern Massachusetts. So if it's Thursday, it has to be Bad Bunny Day, which is followed by Friday, which is also Bad Bunny Day. So I will see you on the next Bad Bunny Day. Trigger warning or no warning. It's just going to be Bad Bunny Day. So enjoy, find the joy, embrace the joy, hide under the covers, or, you know, go buy, download Kid Rock albums if that gives you something that you're looking for. But he's, he could be in the Epstein files for his behavior, but they just wouldn't have him because that isn't the kind of guy that they wanted sullying their wonderful reputation at Epstein.com. So, so it's a delightful trip brief trip through Tulsi Gabbard, our DNI, who is, the the second most important asset on the payroll at the White House for somebody who lives a good deal further to the east, but is always there. Voda is always present. You know? He's with us. He's with you. He loves you. Vladimir Putin loves you. So just in case you were wondering. So congratulations and have a most beautiful evening, and we'll catch up sometime tomorrow. Thank you.